Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2025 at 2:15 in the afternoon. So we're back to take a final look at S69 with one little change that legislative council made for us. Rick, I'll let you show the committee and
Okay, so Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel, draft 2.1 is the new draft. Just a few changes I have highlighted in yellow that I'll go through with you all. Nothing till we have, let's see, what page are we on here? On page 17. We are under the prohibited data and design practices. A covered business shall not permit any individual. This is the conspicuous signal on a miner's device. You may remember that. It was consumer. And last time I asked if it should be individual, because are we limited to just consumers, which would be Vermont residents, or should it be any individual? So the change is to individual there. And the other change is the dates. So we have, remember, two specific rulemakings. This is on page also 17, subsection B. The Attorney General shall, on or before January 1st, 2027, adopt rules that prohibit data processing or design practices, et cetera, et cetera. So just adding that date, there was not a date before, adding January 1, 2027. Skipping down to page 19. This one did have a date, but it was July 1st, 2027. So changing July to January, so it all lines up. So the AG also shall adopt rules identifying commercially reasonable and technically feasible methods, basically age assurance methods, by January 1, 2027. And then at the very end, the entire act takes effect January 1st, 2027, except those two rulemaking provisions that have that date of Jan 1, 2027 actually take effect July 1st, 2025. So the AG's office can begin the process of rulemaking and have it be adopted by Jan 1, 2027.
questions? Everybody good? Okay. Entertain a motion that we report favorably on Senate Bill 69 draft
1.1.
2.1.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion been made by Representative Duke, seconded by Representative Duke.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? No. Can call a roll.
Representative Bosch,
Yes.
Representative Putin,
Yep.
Representative Karis Duncan.
Yep.
Representative Cooper, Representative Duke,
Yes.
Representative Miklas,
Affirmative.
Representative Olson,
Yes.
Representative Priestley, yes. Representative White, Representative Granning.
Yes.
Representative Markowitz.
Yes.
Is Kirk on?
No.
Oh, okay,
So he didn't know if he thought he might join at some point, but
Oh,
Leave
is
it
he
open
not?
or no?
He's not on.
Okay.
he's not. Okay, 10-01. Tony, you interested in reporting this one?
Yeah, I'm glad to do it.
Okay. Great. So, as we all noticed, tomorrow will be up for action Friday and Tuesday. So all you have to do is let Nigel know in the office, the clerk's office, that we passed out S69 with further proposal of amendment. 10-01 vote
In favor.
in favor.
And you're the
We
report.
passed it.
Yeah, but you might need to say that. And you're the report.
Yeah.
Do that right now.
I will email Anna Grace a clean copy that she can post. and it gives the Tony if you need.
Yeah, send it to Tony too.
Do I need to say the version?
Yeah, 2.1.
And if you attach the copy of your email.
Yeah.
And Tony, I'll send you a section by section summary
Okay,
that you can use in your flow report. However you want, but you
okay,
can also email me for more specific questions if you have.
got it. So I should wait till I get that before I.
No,
Nigel.
Email Nigel the minute you get the clean copy.
Yeah, when you get to.
Okay, as soon as I get to the. Okay.
Attach that to your email. On 122, Rick,
yep.
have you heard from John if we've got it scheduled for 10:45 tomorrow? 11:40, no, 10:30.
11:45. Got the agenda open. That's what's on the website.
We could do that.
I did, no, it's 10:45, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. I think an hour and a half for the other one, 15 minutes, and we'll look at 5:12 tomorrow. You can say taking some testimony on that. That's the regulation of the event ticket marketing. So we had a couple people from Paramount coming and someone from the Flynn to start discussing that. Try to get it a little bit ahead of the curve so we can take that up when we come back in January. Yeah, so if you can touch base with John, see where he's at, I'd really like to get that moving, so the time's are ticking now.
Do you want to go over anything today? I have everything but baby bonds drafted.
Yeah.
If you want to
Why don't we go over that now? We get time.
email Anna Grace real quick and copy me on this.
Okay.
Anna Grace, can you make sure there's no yellow in that version I just sent you before you? Thank you. Open up 122. So, again, Rick Sagal, Office of Legislative Counsel. This is a proposed committee amendment to S-122. Just as a refresher, this is the Economic Development and Workforce Development Bill that came over from the Senate Economic Development Committee, had a lot of appropriations. You had Pat Titterton in sometime this week discussing which did and did not make into the budget. So I think there's a couple things to decide on. My understanding is what we have in yellow is mostly the numbers that have changed from what the Senate passed to what is in the budget. You don't have to put in this language in this bill. The money's already been appropriated in the budget, assuming the governor signs the budget. If you want to include this enabling language, you can, but in many ways, it's fairly optional unless you really want that money to be used for a specific purpose. So I'll start with this is section 1, the small business. We took out the downtown tax credit. That was in the Senate version, did not make into the budget.
You want to capitalize color in that word? The first line. I know it hasn't been read any, so.
This didn't, but what passed the Senate did, and they didn't capitalize that. So
I don't remember.
I think sometimes is that an official, like, are they a entity that has that official title? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll double check that just to ensure that it's the right way to label it.
I wonder, I mean, on line 12, we say Vermont professional appellate.
Right.
And we don't have Vermont in the first line.
It is actually.
It's your official title, right, Vermont?
Yep. So,
I mean, with the language, I think I would make the argument that they're not going to be expanding services, right? We're level funding them.
Right,
So they're
Continuing
really
to
just
support-
continuing.
Yeah,
So if we do keep the language, it's really.
yeah,
we're just
I think I
continuing.
just put a period after business communities on line 13.
Officially, the title is the Vermont Professionals of Color without being a lowercase.
What's a lowercase?
Not network.
Yeah, not network.
Yeah, there's no network.
Oh, wait, no, there is network. Sorry, there is network.
But it's the Vermont professionals.
The Vermont Professionals of Color Network with of being lowercase.
Okay. Continuing to support critical workforce and business development services.
I think the technical assistance versus what.
And I would just take out the expansion, say, and to support.
Business technical.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Everybody good with that? Okay.
Okay, 1B is the Vermont Small Business Development Center. It's 150 is what it was in the budget. It's continuation of work. And then shall also be used to increase business advising and educational workshops to meet increasing demands of entrepreneurs and small business owners post-pandemic.
Well, it's not increasing because they didn't get the 300.
Yes.
I think it's used, yeah,
To provide business advising.
continue. Used to continue their business advisory, or something like that.
Well, that previous sentence too, we could just. It's work in helping Vermonters start acquiring good businesses and just period.
Because the post-pandemic thing too, is that go through like time limited.
Yeah, but it's just telling, the second line is telling what the funds, what they're used them for, business advising, educational workshop.
Okay.
Yes. I think that's, that would look good to everybody.
Yeah.
We have 1C, which is the Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund Program. This one, I think we're really taking a look at because it was 100,000 in the Senate, now it's 25,000. Is that enough for the program guide? Because this language would require a definitive business resource guide be made by December 1st, 2026. And I don't know if you've spoken to Ellen about this requirement.
Just to refresh, this is with a larger coalition of small businesses, but it's just being housed.
They were gonna be a pass through,
Yeah,
whether 25 is,
You can text me echo.
yeah.
do we know if the group is going to fundraise for further?
Yeah, I've talked to her a little bit. She lives across the street
Mhm.
from me, Mieko, and she has said that the idea was that
well,
they were trying to come up with other money. They were coming up with other money.
But that
as
was gonna
well.
be this.
That was gonna be basically the seed to
Anything
basically get it started.
Yeah.
And then the maintenance as well. They were like fundraising for that.
Oh, okay.
Ultimately,
So basically, a little seed is.
maybe, I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll find out more about that.
Okay, so leave it for now.
Yeah.
Okay. 1D is the micro business support.
I think that we don't even need that because that's their general fund
Right.
appropriation.
This is the International Trade Division from the Office of or the Department of Economic Development, 150,000 for the purpose of supporting the trade division's initiatives to hire internet. This is from the Senate. Hire international recruitment consultants to focus more on international markets. Develop and deploy advanced site selection data and mapping tools to assist potential investors. Expand Vermont's presence at national and international trade shows. and sponsor events and initiatives that align with Vermont's economic development goals.
So money, the 350 they wanted was to expand further from outside of Montreal or outside of Canada. In the international field, they can't do it, but this keeps the trade office going in Montreal.
It doesn't give them the expansion for overseas.
Right now. So maybe it's just as simple as, for the purpose of continuing to support international trade divisions initiatives. Cause I mean, that language we've already provided when we first authorized it. So I think that should do it.
You asked about statutory language. There's not any.
Really? We didn't put anything in there?
Maybe session law that they couldn't find, but I
I'm
looked.
wondering if it was session law.
I didn't do a deep dive, but I looked pretty, yeah, I couldn't see anything.
It was,
It's also called different things, which is confusing. The governor's office calls it the International Business Office. And right, and that's like in the budget, it's called this. And I emailed Pat and I said, this is called different things, different places. So it is on their website, it's called the International Trade Division. So I think that's what we should call it. Anyway, that's maybe adding to the complexities. It's called different things by different people. But I couldn't find, definitely the statutory, maybe session law, but I looked.
this is just going session law too.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, section 3 is, so we removed, I don't have the bill with me as it passed the Senate, but we removed the outdoor recreation.
I think on line 16, right?
Yeah.
For the purpose of continuing to support.
Thank you. The outdoor recreation section was removed. The Vermont Arts Council section was removed because those didn't make it in the budget. Section 3, the study to address business growth and accessing capital. This is the task of the ACCD. No money required for them to provide a report to this committee and the Senate committee on how to improve access to capital in Vermont. I talked about this last time, but
Do you have anything more you wanted to?
No, I'm still working on connecting with Brett and Ellen.
Okay,
Were we gonna have Brett in back to?
Well-
He was not.
yeah, we didn't say anything, but I don't think we specifically asked him about this. I know that timeline, because of they're shorthanded, is kind of aggressive. And if we're gonna add more to it for them, then we'll have to extend that timeline.
Yeah, and I'm fine with not trying to add more to it, and then I'll just, we can. I'll work with Ellen this summer to come up with some ideas for next year. And Brett and whoever.
How much? They didn't get much testimony, did they?
No, I do remember him referencing this a little bit, and he sounded a little like they don't have a lot of expertise on financing in DED. I mean, he didn't really.
This get thrown in the last minute.
so it was a task force initially, and they had some testimony on that. And there was some debate about it. Another task force, more per diems required. So it was changed to a study pretty last second, my recollection.
There's no testimony from,
Not that I remember.
I really. I mean, I think the idea is good, but I'd really like to take more testimony and really shape this, so I'm kind of on the side of taking it out.
I don't think DED has the expertise to.
I would agree.
I mean, the task force, and you sent me the language for the.
I think this is something that came from the Wednesday,
Oh.
Ellen
Well-
and
I actually know more of the background because I talked to, I couldn't remember who I talked, wasn't you, it was Austin, sent me the original, it came from Launch VT. So it came from the chamber. Launch VT is the chamber's like program to help startups.
Mhm.
And so the original ask was a task force that included, and I have that language, Austin sent me a link to it. It included like VITA and BSJF and DED. It had a whole task force. And it was about scaling businesses. So it was really about like startups and looking at the landscape of financing startups. So it was really much more of a like tech
Mhm.
and Vermont and Launch VT. And then in the Senate, it got stripped down because they didn't want to, the message was, we don't want to appropriate anything for the task force. So it became this other thing. So it's really, that is not how it originally intended. And I'm not so sure we're going to get the result, anything useful out of it.
Yeah, and why, yeah. I mean, if everybody's all right with removing this, so. I think the idea is good, and I think maybe we need to work on that next year.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so remove that. New section 3 is the task force for the convention center and the performance venue. The issue here is that there was no money in the budget for this appropriated. And I talked to Pat about this offline, and he said typically you do have, at the very least, the appropriations committees are given a heads up and they make it work. We've already passed the budget.
Mhm.
This would be problematic. And, Mr. Chair, you said last time, do you need language enabling per diems? From my perspective, yes. I would not feel comfortable telling a member that you're going to get reimbursed if the language is not clearly saying you do get reimbursed. So it's a risk if you want to include this and not have the per diems, or if you want to include it with the per diems, and there's no money, right? So they wouldn't get reimbursed even.
Well, I think when it goes to appropriations, they'll probably, if there's no money available, they'll take out two members, the two legislative members.
Yeah.
I think we're okay leaving it in and letting appropriations decide.
Oh, you know what? I did this yesterday. One thing I did was I added the language, the per diem language, and I put in that instead of the general fund, it'd be money appropriated to ACCD. I don't know if that's a way to get it to work. ACCD may want to come and testify as to if they have that money to pay the task force members, but
They're short staffed, they're saving money,
one way to look at it.
it's saving money, right?
That's true.
So let me actually, let's see, I added, you had last time change out the Secretary of Commerce and Community Development, replace that with the Commissioner of the Department of Economic Development. Then I added it is the chair of the RPCs. It's the president of the RDCs, the chair of the RPCs.
Okay.
And then, so that's now you have 7 members instead of 6.
Yeah.
And then I just added the reimbursement language. Oh, and the commissioner, instead of the secretary calls the first meeting. This was a typo. I called it a commission. It's a task force. And then this is the reimbursement language that may get stripped if you pass it out by appropriations.
Work for them by DED.
Sorry.
Do they have support from the task force, or do they not need support?
ACCD.
Okay. John?
Once you finish your thought, mine was about a line a little bit further up.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it's the regional planning commissions, that's the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies, right? Isn't that VAPTA? That's the thing. Do we need to change that, or is that clear the way it is?
No, we should change it.
So the chair of the regional planning commissions, I think it might be the chair of the Vermont Association of Planning and Development Agencies.
like that.
Yeah, and then for the line 6, it's the Regional Development Corporations of Vermont.
And I'll double check those just to be sure.
Okay, and I think we can leave per diem language in there and then we'll let,
Do you want to put this back to general fund? That's typically what is done.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, ACCD is gonna provide the logistical, the supports for the task force.
And then we have, this is now section 4. I left in the Ireland Trade Commission, just copied and pasted it. I know you're having testimony on it, I assume.
Yeah.
For Casey, okay. Didn't add or remove anything from that. Oh, I did add this.
You can take that out.
Take that out. Same problem then, right? There's gonna be the per diem piece of that one. 6 and 7, which are now 5 and 6. Is the appointment and repeal. And then section 7 is H34, just copied and pasted. The which you all passed out early in the session.
Yeah.
It's in Senate, but not clear what's gonna happen to that bill, so.
Depending on what we do with the American Irish.
I think it's just an Irish trade.
Vermont Ireland Trade Commission.
Hear the background. Come on.
Should be Polish.
I mean, you could. But
Yeah, I don't know that we'll hear from Representative Casey tomorrow. You can give us a pitch and see where everybody sits. How we should think about language that link it to sister state.
if that's possible to have that, like it just a generic.
Well, we already have the sister state, so the task force is still working on that. It's supposed to come back next January proposal. And Edie is on that, of course, so.
So we're jumping the gun a little bit,
Yeah,
picking
Frank
a
Lyons.
place.
Yeah.
Before we have that report back on how to do this for the state,
Oh, okay, okay.
so.
Like, why would we? Yeah. I get it.
Okay. We'll see tomorrow. Anything,
You could push the effective date of if you wanted to do the Ireland Trade Commission, you could push the effective date till next, 2027 or 2026.
get into effect July 1, 2025. Sunset at July 2nd, 2025.
That's not a sunset, that's an eclipse.
That's how we get things done.
It's an awful lot of work.
I also removed speaking of the trade commissions, I removed that last section that amended the current International Trade Commission.
We need to talk more about that. Yeah, that was a floor amendment, but we try to stay away from it, at least on the House side. And I understand the reasoning behind it. Okay, I think that's good. I'll try to talk to Robin about the Convention Center Task Force, see what she thinks. We may wind up pulling the 2 members out and taking the per diems out, but we'll see. Anything else? Okay, I think we can go up live as the entertainment has arrived.